And so, yes, it's really wonderful to be back. Last week I was at Christ in the Desert, and I had a wonderful retreat weekend there. And I think, oftentimes in this world we get really busy. We get very, very busy on this path. And it's helpful to stop, to go on retreat, to step into the silence. And I thought I'd just start with a couple of announcements here. My next retreat that I will be offering is in February of 2020, February 6th through the 10th. So please mark your calendars. It will be in Del Mar, California. That's just right next to Encinitas in San Diego, California. So it'll be a mostly silent retreat. So I look forward to that. Big thank you to everyone for offering your donations. And in a couple weeks, I'll be teaching at the Science and Non-Duality Conference, and really looking forward to being there. So if you're there, come say hi, and please look on the schedule on my website. There'll be three meetings that I'll be a part of, and so I look forward to seeing you there if you're going to be in Northern California. Okay, I'm going to invite us all just to close our eyes and just feel the silence that's here. It's very gentle, awake, alive silence. And so often when we meditate, we pay attention to the busy thoughts in our mind, the movement of sensation. But instead of paying attention to the contents of your mind, I'm going to invite you to pay attention to the context, to the space. The space in which your sensations arise, the space in which emotions arise. And so I'm inviting you to feel the very space of your being, to give yourself permission to settle in there, to settle into the space, the space. And give yourself permission just to unhook from the thoughts. There's nothing you need to think about in this moment. For some of you, it may have been a very relaxing day, and others quite busy. And so I'm inviting you to notice the space in which the day has arisen. The space in which the body arises. The space in which thought arises. And can you notice that your experience radically expands when you pay attention to the context of consciousness itself, instead of the context. The context is that which comes and that which goes. But if you can notice, right here, right now, you cannot turn awareness off. You cannot turn consciousness off. It's here, it's awake. It's alive. And your consciousness is vast. Can you let go into this vastness and even smile a little bit? Smile at the moving thoughts, the arising and the falling away of personality. Smile at being human and divine. We're just taking a breath and stepping back into the context. Sometimes it can be helpful to relax the contents, to relax the body, the nervous system, the jaw, the spine. To relax it all. Again, just breathing, feeling, experiencing. Deeply letting go. Breathing in, breathing out. Deeply letting go. You are the space. Not the things that arise in the space. The space is what's permanent. Always here, always allowing, always inviting. So I'm going to encourage you just to take another couple deep, full belly breaths. Breathing in, breathing out. And then when you're ready, you can just gently open your eyes. And so, it's so nice to see you all. Truly, truly. You know, on this path of spiritual awakening, oftentimes we trip over ourselves. We trip over the contents of our consciousness. You know, our emotions, our thoughts. We trip over our past or our karma. You know, last week on Thursday, I was feeling very full just with life. I have a very busy job. I meet with lots and lots of people, and come Friday, you know, I gave myself permission to get up and to drive out into the desert and visit this monastery called Christ in the Desert, and it's one of the most remote monasteries in the country, if not the world. It's out in the deserts of New Mexico. You drive down this 13-mile long dirt road, you know, along the Chama River. And there's beautiful sandstone cliffs, you know, reds and tans and oranges and purples. And at the end is this little monastery. And as soon as I got in the car to drive in the direction of the retreat, I just turned my phone off. I turned everything off and just let my mind just explode open. Didn't worry about any thoughts. Did I do this? Did I do that? Did I take care of this or that? I just gave myself permission to be as big as the sky. And what a relief it was to settle into the hugeness. What a relief. And so many of us on the path, we're always struggling with ourselves and tripping over ourselves. For some of us, if we've had a lot of energy move through our body and chakras opening and then closing and opening again, sometimes we pay attention to the opening and the closing and the this and the that. Sometimes we're fighting with our neighbor in our head or our to-do list. We forget what consciousness is. Consciousness is the context. It's the space in which all of life arises. And the beautiful thing about consciousness is it's already awake, it's already aware. In a real sense, it's already enlightened. Now, many people make the mistake of assigning an understanding to the realization of their consciousness. That when I step into my consciousness, I will know certain things. Other people make the mistake of saying, I will feel a certain way. I will feel expansive. I will feel like I'm on, really good drugs or whatever it is that people think. I will feel euphoric and blissful and this and that. And if you look for the feeling, you might not find it. Because consciousness itself, it's like the sky. The sky is vast, but the sky doesn't necessarily have a feeling. Sometimes it comes with a feeling. It's nice when the feeling of hugeness corresponds with the realization of hugeness. But it's important to realize your awareness is always awake. It's always vast. If it's not vast, it wouldn't allow for pain. It wouldn't allow for sadness. It wouldn't allow for heartache or thoughts you like and thoughts you don't like. So there is an open space that is already here. It's within this perspective that we are free. But most of us, we want the realization of freedom, the realization of consciousness, to come with an absence of thought and only good feelings, expansive feelings. And see, when we place this demand on consciousness, and consciousness is beyond our demands, we start to argue with it. And then we miss it. We miss the simplicity that is right here. It's like trying to grasp onto the air. The air is here. You can't grasp it. It's a fundamental aspect of your human being, but you can't remove all the air from your body. It's here. It's through in. It's throughout. It makes up your being. And the same is true of consciousness. And it's a delightful realization to come to this. Say, oh yes, there is something that's awake, that's aware. So this is the big picture. The big picture is beyond feeling, beyond philosophy, beyond dogma, beyond being open or closed. The big picture, it's always eternally here. And it's waiting for you to wake up to it, to come into alignment with it. Even as I'm saying this, there may be some of you who I'm losing who are saying, this doesn't even make sense, Craig, what you're saying. But just notice that there's something that's here that doesn't have to fight or struggle to hear the sound of my voice. It's already here. Awareness is already awake. It's already alive. It's already peaceful and free. This is the basic teaching on spiritual awakening, is awareness is already awake, already alive, already free. And so can you join me in stepping into this realization? Whether your body feels good or feels bad, whether you've recently fallen in love or you're going through a horrible breakup or divorce, whether your mind has lots of thoughts or no thoughts, can you notice that there is something here that notices lots of thoughts or no thoughts? What is that simplicity that notices? Can you give yourself permission simply to fall in love with this? Fall in love with this. And so, I'd like to start off these evenings just with a basic teaching. And even though what I'm bringing forward is quite basic, most people might spend their whole spiritual path tripping over this one. Tripping over this one. And so I invite you just to continue to stay, to listen. And listen from the place that's already awake, already aware. This simple presence of spirit. And if you just turn awareness inward toward that simple presence of spirit, you'll notice that what you are is completely sane, completely clear. Awareness will tell you if you're being crazy, if you're being neurotic, if you're being manic or depressed or this or that. It'll tell you in the most gentle way. Your mind will tell you oftentimes in a harsh way how you're doing, or in a judgmental way. But awareness, it's just gently noticing. Like if there's a loud sound that comes into the room, awareness just gently notices, acknowledges without even commenting that there's a loud sound. And the same is true when we are neurotic. Awareness just gently notices. It's almost like when Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars just gently noticed there's a disturbance in the Force. He didn't have a panic attack. He didn't make an incredible judgment. He just said there's a disturbance. And that's how awareness operates. When you see yourself acting foolishly or putting your foot in your mouth or whatever it is, awareness just gently notices, like, oh, that wasn't quite right. So it has a softness to it, a gentleness to it. Whereas your thinking mind, which arises in the space of awareness, oftentimes will make a harsh criticism if you say the wrong thing. If you forget to send an email. I once forgot to send an email a couple months ago, and the person came back to me and said, hey, and they just basically sent me a really confusing email. And I'm realizing, oh, maybe I wrote the response to them, to their initial email. And maybe I didn't send it. Maybe it just got stuck in being a draft. Maybe I did send it and they didn't get it. Who knows? But awareness can see that when we make a mistake, it's not a big deal. It's human. A mistake happened one way or another. Whether it's my fault or their fault or Google's fault, who knows? Who knows? Sometimes things fail when we're dealing with humans. But the space of awareness allows everything to come and everything to go. Whether it's something brilliant and beautiful, a little mistake, or our worst mistake. And awareness knows that sometimes we won't even ever figure it out. And so if you want to have more peace, you bring your body, your mind, your emotional nature into alignment with the natural state of being. If you want to have more suffering in your life, bring yourself, what you know yourself to be, in alignment with your ego, and you will surely suffer. And so, anyways, so nice to be here with y'all. And there's a couple questions, and I'll do my best to get to them. So the first question that I have this week is about. Well, let me start with this other question that just popped up from Taylor. Craig, I notice that often when I step into this presence, a lot comes forward very quickly. It is hard to stay. Can you speak about this? Is this a matter of spiritual power or trust? Craig, I notice that when I step into this presence, a lot comes forward very quickly. And Taylor, by a lot, do you mean a lot of emotions and a lot of thoughts? You let me know. I notice often when I step into this presence, so the presence of your true nature, a lot comes forward. Yes, a lot of pain and energy comes up. Can you speak about this? Yes, it's very common. I want you to imagine that awareness is a loving presence. It's very much like the presence of a good mother. And I want you to imagine something. I have a little girl. And when she goes to school, she's there all day with school, and she has all kinds of thoughts and feelings, and she can't share them, all of her thoughts and feelings with her school teacher, because it would overwhelm her, because all the other kids want to share their thoughts and feelings. And so she has to kind of keep a lot of her thoughts and feelings within her. And then as soon as my daughter Ani, as soon as her mother comes and picks her up from school, Ani gives Ashley, who's the mom, a big hug, and then just starts saying all kinds of thoughts and expressing all kinds of feelings. The same is true when she sees her daddy. When I walk into the room and I've been working all day, all of a sudden she'll just be like, blah, 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 just like all kinds of thoughts and feelings, just like throwing them at me, because she has my attention. So our inner child, our egoic nature, our human self, does the same thing when we wake up to awareness. When we step into awareness, we become like this divine mother presence, who all of a sudden is fully available to the child. And so the child's going to make a lot of noise. It's going to unload a lot of emotion. And if you're not deeply rooted in awareness, at first you'll feel overwhelmed. It's not that awareness is overwhelmed. It's just that most of us are not trained in staying deeply rooted in awareness. This is why it's important to have a strong meditation practice. Meditation practice is awareness training. It's training in deepening into awareness, waking up to awareness, and staying there in the midst of beauty and simultaneously in the midst of hell. In the midst of beauty and in the midst of hell. And so it's a very common thing. And so what happens for a lot of people when they're playing this game of shifting from one identity to the other. So if you're fully comfortable and with the realization that I am the space of awareness, and you know that the space of awareness has an intelligence to it, has a heart, has unconditional love, when you know this in the depth of your nature, you have no problem staying in this space. But when you haven't fully shifted into this space, oftentimes you're just living in ego. And when you're living in ego is saying, this is me. I'm the ego. I have to figure life out. I have to sort it out. I have to straighten it out. I have to do this. I have to do that. And the more busy your life is, the more trauma you have, then there's probably a greater chance that you're deeply identified with your egoic nature. And in this identification, there's a trust in ego, but not a trust in awareness. If you trusted fully in awareness, you would let go into it and say, oh yes, this is what I am. But most of us, we trust in our inner accountant, our inner doer, our inner judge, our inner critic. Many of us, we trust in the critic because the critic is the one that, made sure we didn't say the wrong thing at school. The critic was the one that reminded us not to trust anyone or anything. Only trust the ego. And so when we live in that way, we're going to suffer greatly. And so yes, this game, to shift from trusting in ego to trusting into the depth of what you are, the space of what you are. You have to give yourself permission to surrender. Your old computer, your old mind, and get a new one. Get a new one. I can smile a little bit because out in my garage, I might have 2 or 3 old computers. And on the hard drives are many of my thoughts and emails, writings, letters, pictures, music, all the stuff that's on a hard drive. And when I bought a new computer, there's always like this moment of trust when you let go of the old one. It's like, oh, will the new one work as good? Will it work better? And you have to be willing just to let go of that old hard drive. Let go of that operating system. At one point I switched from PC to Mac, which was a big transition for me. I knew PC quite well. I was excellent at PC, and then I was really nervous about switching to Mac. I didn't know how it worked. It had a new operating system. And so switching from ego into this new operating system where you're giving yourself permission to be disoriented. It takes trust. It takes faith that if I let go of the old operating system, something greater will come. And I can assure you something greater is here within each and every one of you. And so, yes, it's a matter of trust. Do you trust that awareness has an intelligence? Do you trust that so that awareness has an intelligence greater than your thinking mind? That's the first one. Do you trust that awareness has a heart, an unconditionally loving heart? That's much greater than your emotional heart. The emotional heart says, I like this person, I don't like that one. I like it if it feels good, I don't like it if it feels bad. Do you trust that the unconditional heart, which doesn't really care if things feel good or feels bad, it cares about what is true, what is good, like truly good. Do you trust in this greater heart? Or do you want to play the I don't like this, I do like that game? That's called samsara. The third big space is with fear, because the ego has a big root in fear, the fight or flight consciousness. It's like the feeling in the heart, but a little bit deeper. Actually, a lot deeper. And the ego is this core belief that I'm not safe. The world is dangerous. Nothing can be trusted. No one can be trusted. At any moment, I could be crushed or harmed or hurt. So do you want to trust in that mind? Or are you willing to discover that there is a mind here, a consciousness here, that is deathless, that lives, goes on to live, lifetime to lifetime, that's beyond death, beyond birth, eternally here? Do you trust that there's something here that's deathless? That's a big one for most people. That's a big one for most people. And so when we sit in meditation, we face our own thoughts, and then we're invited to realize, oh, there's a space in which thought arises. That's what I am. We face our emotions, and then we're invited to realize there's a space here, there's a heart here. Greater than any coming and going emotion. There's a heart here that outlives every feeling. It's able to embrace every feeling. And then when we sit in meditation and we see fear, we experience fear, can we take a deep breath and trust that there's something here in which fear is arising and in which fear will pass away? Can you trust that the space is greater than the fear? That this space is unharmed by any feeling? Have you ever noticed that what you are fundamentally, has outlived every pain, trauma, sadness, heartache, physical pain, operation, surgery, accident, that you've outlived everything? What is that? What is that? And so, yes, Taylor, this is a beautiful question. In order to transition, we must trust. And so say, for example, you open up into the presence, and then you're overwhelmed with feeling. Can you open more deeply? Can you breathe into the feeling? Can you be the bigger one? Every mother has to make this choice when the child is having a fit. The mother's ego may be screaming or thinking about screaming at the child's ego. The child's ego is screaming. The child's ego screams first, and the mother has a choice to respond. A smack in the kid, tell them to shut up, or whatever it is. Or the mother can take a step back and say, "Come here, sweetie. Let me hold you." And so in order for the mother not to go crazy, she has to take deeper and deeper breaths. Deeper and deeper breaths. Deeper and deeper breaths. And so yes, awareness requires trust, and it also requires choice. As soon as we choose, we embody awareness. We say, no, I'm not going to get lost in thought or emotion. I'm going to choose to see it clearly. In fact, even in your question, you're conveying that you can see it clearly. You see the timeline of events. What is it that sees the timeline of events? So say, for example, the timeline of events is, I opened to awareness. Good. I saw lots of emotion come forward. And then I noticed I shut down. And then I noticed I judged myself and said this was bad and wrong. And I noticed that I feel like I'm not in awareness. That awareness is no longer here. Then I'm going to ask you, is that true? Isn't awareness what just noticed that timeline? Isn't awareness that which notices opening and closing, so-called opening and closing? Can you be with that which doesn't open and doesn't close? The space of awareness, the space of consciousness, it's so utterly in our face that we all miss it. It's so much in the background that we miss it. It's in the foreground, it's in the background, it's everywhere. Whether we think we're open or we think we're closed. Awareness is that which notices the rising and falling of thought, the opening and closing of what we think we are. How could you notice that if you weren't already aware? There's a great relief that happens when we just give ourselves permission to be what we are. To be what we are. So anyways, beautiful question. Thank you. All right. Let's see what's next here. Okay, so here's a question. And I'm sorry, I forgot to write who this question was from, but she's from France, I believe. Craig, I would like to ask a question. Is it normal that I always feel kundalini? It's continuous without meditating. Yeah, if your kundalini is awake, you should feel it all the time, whether you meditate or not. She goes on to write, it is only, let me see if I can understand this. It is only pain, is what she feels. Will it go away one day? Yes, so what you're feeling, the pain that you're feeling, that's not the kundalini. The pain that you're feeling is your body's karma, your body's resistance, your body's clogged chakras, clogged channels in response to the kundalini. So kundalini it's like pure bliss, pure spaciousness, pure peace. And it comes with a power. Oftentimes it feels very condensed, even though it's spacious as well. And so when this energy wakes up in the body, if you have any energy that wakes up in your body, it's going to come with a light. Energy is light. And this light will burn up old congestion. The same way a fever will burn up any virus in the body or any sickness. Kundalini is like a great cooker. It wants to cook everything out of you, everything impure out of you. And so what you're feeling, the pain, is simply the resistance in the body to the light. And for some people, this is really difficult, really intense. For me, it was extremely intense because I had a lot of congestion in my chakra centers. Excuse me. The pain goes away, eventually once the chakra centers are cleared out. And so if you want something to help, you can meditate more. Walking meditation is helpful. Sitting meditation. And of course, yoga. Lots of yoga is helpful. Yin yoga, hatha yoga, really slow, gentle yoga. Helps to clear the chakra centers. Helps to empty them out. Helps to open the channels so the chi can flow, the prana can flow again. Unobstructed. Unobstructed. Here's another question about Kundalini. This one's from Daniel. And before I speak about this, just keep in mind, whenever I'm speaking about Kundalini, you can take these same teachings and think of just anything difficult within you. On the spiritual path, your body will start to wake up, the energy body. As the energy body wakes up, you'll notice two things. One, how much pain, confusion, karma. Karma is just an accumulation of old habits within that nervous system. So you'll notice this as your body wakes up. But as it comes into contact with the light, all these things will be burning up. This is normal. This is good. Normally people who are identified with their smaller consciousness, the small mind, think if it's painful, it's bad. But oftentimes painful means, something's being cooked out of my nervous system. And when a brilliant light comes into your nervous system, into your body, it can be very confusing. It can be very painful. But eventually, as the body opens up and falls into alignment with the light, you're left just with the light, Okay, so Daniel practices Chinese medicine and wrote a long email with all these symptoms and things. But basically he said, I have lots of energy flowing through my body and spine. I don't exactly know what happened to me, but it's a huge shift and I feel changed. I also feel that I'm not interested in a lot of things anymore. And I have deep love with this experience. Could you tell me more about what you think happened to me? Do you think this is a spiritual opening or Kundalini awakening? I never trained in yoga or anything like this. I would be happy if you could help me understand my situation better. Thank you, from Daniel. So Daniel, yeah, my response is going to be really similar to the person before you. Through your practice of Chinese medicine, of acupuncture, qigong, tai chi, whatever it is, your energy body woke up. And so this is common on the path that if you're practicing some type of energy medicine, if you're practicing Reiki, if you're practicing massage therapy or receiving a lot of healing work, out of nowhere, your whole energy body may just wake up with an explosiveness. This is normally called kundalini awakening. Some people, it wakes up very slowly and gently. And that's nice too when that happens. When it opens in a slow way, it's less confusing. But when it happens in a huge way, very quickly, it'll take your breath away. It'll leave you kind of perplexed, confused, disoriented. There's two big shifts that can happen. I'm sorry. Let me start over. There's two types of spiritual awakening. One is just like slow and gradual, and the other is just boom. It's like dramatic and intense. And for some people, they have the slow, gradual way. Other people, they have the dramatic way. I assure you, if you do have a dramatic awakening, you also have to do the slow, gradual one. The slow, gradual path is the path of integration. Some people have this idea that, there's a big awakening and then everything is forever healed and changed and you're completely transformed and you can float on your private nirvana cloud for the rest of your life. But it really doesn't work that way. You may have some major shifts in the beginning, the middle, or the end. But all of us, if we have a human body, must go through this path of integration. And the integration will happen on the level of mind, the level of emotional nature, the level of the gut, and the level of the body. And so when I speak about energy, I'm speaking about the integration that's happening in the level of the body. So within the nervous system, we hold all of our trauma, Daniel, all of our pain, all of our habits. And you should know this. As a practitioner of Chinese medicine, is that there's different ways we hold our body. There's different ways we've repressed things. And so sometimes, if we're doing a lot of energy work or healing, practices like Tai Chi or Qigong, we start to open these channels. And as we open them, we may notice the chakras spinning, huge flows of energy and grace moving through the nervous system. And as it does, sometimes just right away, you'll shift into a huge consciousness and say, my God, I'm not really interested in what I was once interested in the past. You may find that relationships fall away, or that, you look in the mirror and it's like the first time you've ever seen yourself truly. It's like, can be like a new beginning, or being born again, if, to use some of that Christian language. And so, yes, this is spiritual awakening. And as this light, flows through your channels, it may bring forward old pain, karma, heartache, to be seen and met with love. And so the big question for you is, if you do feel pain coming forward, whether that's now or later, can you embrace it? Can you trust in this path? Can you trust that what's happening to you, in you, as you, has a supreme intelligence to it, an intelligence greater than your thinking mind? One of the things that happens when we study a particular healing art, or if we're trained in yoga or trained in pranayama, oftentimes we the ego still think we know the way, how the path should unfold, what's supposed to be happening now or in the past or in the future. And it's good to let go of this. Some people, when they have an energetic awakening, they try to steer that awakening very intensely with, in alignment with their Tai Chi practice, or in alignment with their Reiki practice, whatever it is. Some people who do the pranayama breaths really force things to open, and then they keep doing the pranayama breaths and forcing more and more and more energy through their nervous system. And things can get a little nutty. It's good to remember that God's in charge, that there's an incredible intelligence that's right here in the background. And so sometimes you may do a practice and it invokes an incredible awakening. But after the awakening takes place, it's good to let go of the practice and listen to this deeper truth. Back to the metaphor of the computer. When I knew how to, when I worked with the PC, my whole life, I had to let go of the PC skills in order to learn the new skills with the Mac. I had to let go of that old operating system. I had to let go of the, say for example, the idea of right-clicking and instead doing a double tap or whatever it is on a Mac. And so we have to let go. We have to let go of any forcefulness. And so one of the things, Daniel, I'm going to encourage you is to let go of your model, that you wrote me about, what's happening in Chinese medicine, and let your body show you, let your experience show you directly what the truth is. A lot of people come to me when they have an energetic awakening and they say, Craig, the energy made it all the way through the top of the head. That means I'm complete. But then, they have 800 questions which tell me they're not complete. We never really are complete. The awakening's never really finished. It's always unfolding forever. Some people say it's stuck here, it's stuck there. I need to stand on my head and do this yoga asana or that yoga asana. And sometimes that's wise, and sometimes when you think you know the way, you get yourself in trouble. And by thinking you know the way, I'm speaking about when you think with your mind. When you listen with your heart, you may find, oh, the reason the blockage is in my heart is not because I need to do more pranayama, but because I need to forgive my father or my mother, or my sister, my brother. Or I need to forgive God or whoever it is. Whoever it is. And so, I'm going to invite us all, just to end again with a short meditation. So I'm going to invite you just to close your eyes. And let go of everything that I said in the talk. I invite you to bring your awareness deep into your belly. Just noticing this quiet presence of peace in your belly. Notice that there is a peace here beyond understanding, beyond grasping, beyond fighting. Can you give yourself permission just to let go into this peace? Allow it to explode open. Have no walls, no boundaries. Can you notice your consciousness has no edges, no beginning and no end? It's huge, it's vast, it's free. What you are is huge, is vast, and is free. You smile at this freedom that you are. And so, it's been so nice to be here with you all. If any of you want to join us for Wednesday meditations, visit my website for details about that. I'll do my best to get the details for the retreat posted on the website sometime soon. May peace be with you all. May you all have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Good night.